Hello and welcome to Frontrunner Motorsport. So we had no Formula 1 this past weekend and we have already looked at the IndyCar finale for 2023. So now we can spend a little while getting through all the other goings on. We have the World Endurance Championship from Fuji, Indy NXT from Laguna Seca, DTM from Sachsenring, Formula Regional European and Euro Formula from Austria. We have World Rally Championship from Greece, NASCAR from Kansas, British GT and GB3 from Brands Hatch, and TCR UK from Donington Park. So with all that to get through, subscribe and let's jump right into the video. So, World Endurance Championship from Fuji, Japan, the penultimate round of the championship, which sees Toyota versus Toyota in a fight for the championship yet again. But the 51 Ferrari can still technically take the WEC title, so progress has been made. Everyone went wide at the first corner, and for the first half of the race, the number 6 Porsche led the way, whilst the number 5 Porsche ran into a multitude of issues that kept it down the back. It took an hour for the Toyotas to regain ground and get back past the Ferraris, but once they were ahead there was no stopping them. Other teams are still having issues. Peugeot are still too slow and struggled against the customer Porsches. The Cadillac damaged its tyres, Van Wall were nowhere, and the Ferraris struggled to keep pace at this track. But it was still entertaining, and with more hypercars coming, I can't wait. With the number 7 Toyota beating the number 8, the title fight goes to the last round. With the Ferrari still able to win, but they need Toyota to implode. Corvette have already won the GT class, Team WRT have a big lead in the LMP2 class, but they're not home yet. Inter Europol and one of the Autosports can catch them. Brilliant racing from the World Endurance Championship. World Rally Championship from Greece, and considering this rally has a reputation as a car killer, the worry must have been would anyone finish. But we did have 10 Rally 1 cars. Ford ran into troubles early, Lubert was out before day 2 started, and Ott Tanak had a water pump issue that caused him to get a large penalty, but he was super quick. Day 3 saw many of the top runners hit trouble. Thierry Neuville retired, Seb Ogier dropped nearly 10 minutes, Katsuta and Lappi had issues and were well off the pace. All this meant Kalle Rovanperä had over 2 minutes to spare going into the final day, ahead of Danny Sordo, who managed to stay out of trouble, and Elfyn Evans. The Finn won and extended his lead in the championship. Tanak recovered well to 4th. Neuville's title hopes are over again. Will he ever be champion? DTM from the Sachsenring. The first time DTM has been there since 2002. Race 1 was not very interesting, very little overtaking. Lucas Stoltz took the win, his first since 2022. Thomas Preining finished 2nd and took back the championship lead. Race 2 started with a couple of incidents, both involving the Van der Linde brothers. Kelvin spun Mara Engel's Mercedes out of the race, while Sheldon was spun into the oncoming pack and took several cars out with him, as well as bringing out the red flag. After the restart, Mirko Bortolotti led the way, and it looked like he was about to take the lead back in the championship. Elsewhere, Jack Aitken retired after a bash with Ricardo Feller. Aitken has driven very well at times, but he has had awful luck. Luca Engstler got the hip and shoulder from Lucas Auer, whose own title campaign was collapsing. Another win for Mirko Bortolotti, he leads the championship, but it's close between him and Thomas Preining. 2 rounds left and the championship is still wide open. The final 2 races of the Indy NXT season came to us from Laguna Seca. Race 1 was surprisingly clean, until Lewis Foster made contact with Jacob Abel and exited the race. And Kiko Porto exited the race at the restart. Jamie Chadwick did a good job of staying out of trouble and picking up places until a clumsy move from Nolan Siegel took them both out of the race, ending any hopes Nolan Siegel had of being champion. With that race finished under safety car and Hunter McElrea took the win ahead of Christian Rasmussen. This technically took the championship into the final race, but Hunter McElrea would need to win, lead the most laps, get fastest lap and hope Christian Rasmussen failed to finish. The Danes started race 2 from pole. Kiffin Simpson and Reece Gold got together, bringing out the only safety car of the race. Christian Rasmussen won, and we will see him in IndyCar in 2024. There are a few drivers we could see move up, but possibly not Jamie Chadwick. But she did improve over the course of the season, and another year of Indy NXT might do her good if the goal is for her to race in IndyCar. At this point, the Formula 1 dream might be dead in the water. An exciting year for the rebranded Indy Lights series, and I will wait for 2024 eagerly. NASCAR from Kansas, another oval, but most of the races in the playoffs are ovals. Would this not be the best time to mix in some different formats for races? Many of the playoff drivers had issues once again, Bubba Wallace, Martin Truex, William Byron, amongst others, all either spun or hit the wall. Worst off was Chris Buescher, who fell out of the top 10 with just 7 laps to go. Tyler Reddick got the win, and this was a pretty typical NASCAR race. Formula Regional European from the Red Bull Ring. Race 1 was not very entertaining, many of the title contenders were near the front and very little overtaking. Much of the action came to us from the midfield. Rafael Kumara won the race. Martinez Stenson was down in 18th, so Andrea Kimi Antonelli extended his championship lead. Race 2 was equally as disappointing. Alessandro Giusti won for G4 and is having a great second half of the year. Stenson and Antonelli were 3rd and 4th, so status quo after this race. 3 rounds left, and it's mostly between Andrea Kimi Antonelli and Martinez Stenson, but Tim Tramitz is still in with a chance. Mediocre weekend from this series. Euro Formula was coming from the Red Bull Ring in Austria alongside Formula Regional European, and once again the grid was very small. Only 9 cars took the start in race 1, including Austrian Formula Regional Oceania champion Charlie Wirtz and Joshua Defek. Noel Leon led the way early on, and whilst the last couple of rounds of Euro Formula were pleasantly entertaining, nothing happened in this first race. Noel Leon won. There was some great battling in the midfield of race 2. Noel Leon and Joshua Defek had a war. Bryce Aaron led for the majority of the race until he was spun by Simonazzi with just 2 laps left, something the Italian is getting a bit of a reputation for. Noel Leon passed him and took another win. The Mexican looked like a star in this race. The final race, Cian Shields finished ahead of Leon, and Noel Leon is the championship leader. Race 2 was pretty good, but only 5 cars made it to the end of the race. It sounds like a massacre, but there are not enough cars involved. British GT from the Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit, and I was really looking forward to this one. British GT has been the best national series to watch in 2023, and I think it will be for a while to come. Bit of chaos at the start, many a car going round, but otherwise it was a clean race up until Mark Radcliffe and Richard Neary got together and ended up in the gravel, bringing out the safety car. After that, the safety car came out a few more times for various incidents. Darren Harper and Darren Long won in their BMW, and they are in the chase for the championship going into the final round. But the Mercedes of James Cuttingham and Jonathan Adams still leads the final races at Donington Park at the end of October. GB3 supported the British GT at Brands Hatch, and race 1 started with drama. Alex Dunn, title contender, was taken out at the first corner. David Morales is proving to be as good here as he was anywhere else he's been. He was another that ended the race in the gravel. Joseph Loke won, and so we move on to race 2. Callum Voisin got the lead, but there was a safety car for Sean Rashid and Noah Ping getting together. That was the only stoppage in this race. Callum Voisin took his first win of the year and the lead in the GB3 Championship. The final Brands Hatch race started with several crashes at Paddock Hill Bend, something that had been avoided up to this point and yet was still inevitable. There was a long clean-up process, so he lost half this race to a safety car. Honestly, they should have just red flagged it. Daniel Mavlatov won ahead of Nika Christodoulou. Callum Voisin leads the championship after taking his first win of 2023. This was a very entertaining weekend for GB3. Finally, the TCR UK series was at Donington Park, and I really paid attention to see if this series was more entertaining than the BTCC. It was okay. Wins for Jenson Brickley and Bradley Hutchison until they were both penalised for various reasons, meaning Adam Shepherd and Alistair Camp took the wins. The second race was wet and there was a bit of action as cars squirmed about. This was all okay, but I've never been overly impressed by TCR UK or the TCR regulations, frankly. My biggest problem with TCR UK is it feels a bit Bush League, and I'm not sure what the solution to that is. So that was all the action from the past weekend. You'll forgive me if this took a long time to do. There was a lot of racing, and the World Endurance race was 6 hours long. But it was also my race of the weekend. Next weekend, Formula 1 is back at Singapore, but we also have NASCAR from Bristol, Supercars from Sandown, Super GT from Sugo, Extreme E from Italy again, and Formula Regional European from Monza. So make sure you subscribe to the channel, leave your thoughts down below. Thank you for watching, and have a good one.